Everybody. I'm delighted today to be joined by Moh Attalah, as a board member from the Egyptian Golf Federation. Moh, as he's more affectionately known, is an integral part to the new and exciting partnership that we have here at Golf Zone Leadbetter with the Egyptian Golf Federation. They've got a real commitment to growing the game and further enhancing their training together with our Golf Zone University program. So Moh, it's a delight to have you with us today. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Cairo, Egypt, as you'd expect. Yes, we're very delighted to be here, Stuart. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I've been working with you for quite some time now on this exciting partnership, and just really wanted to dive in a little bit today about golf in Egypt, the plans that you have for the future, and really for everybody to learn a little bit more about what the Egyptian Golf Federation is all about. There's around 20 golf courses in Egypt, 8 of them in Cairo. And it'd be great, Moh, if you could give us a little insight into golf in Egypt, and maybe how that compares to how it's been 10 or 15 years ago up to this point.
Sure. Golf is actually, many people won't know this, but golf has a very historical roots in Egypt. Our first golf course was built in the early 1880s, the Gezira Club, and 2 more courses were built in the late 1900s even, at the Pyramids at Mina House and Alexandria Golf Club, or Alexandria Sporting Club. So yes, there's been some real tradition. Golf had a very rich vein of form in Egypt until the 1950s, with some quite famous household names winning some prestigious championships in the Gezira Club. Gary Player being a name that's synonymous with the Gezira match play, and it was one of his first international wins. Since then, obviously, those clubs were the established golf courses of Egypt over the last 5 or 6 decades. But at the turn of the century, or the late 1990s up until the turn of the century, there was an influx of golf courses attached to real estate developments. And this is where we are now in a position that we have 8 golf courses in Cairo, and 20 across the country. So we're in a very nice position in terms of golf course designs. They're all signature designs, the modern golf courses. Everyone from Greg Norman all the way to Sir Nick Faldo, with Gary Player and a Jack Nicklaus design, and some of the household names of golf course design putting their signatures towards some of these phenomenal golf courses. And the industry's actually grown over the last 10 years in particular, with a lot of initiatives, especially from the Egyptian Golf Federation and the private clubs, or the golf clubs, as it were, developing the growth of the game in the country.
That's fantastic, Moh. And I know that the golf courses there, as you've mentioned, are such signature courses. They lend themselves to presenting a fantastic environment for the growth of future talent of the game. But what does the current demographic look like with golf in Egypt? And how do people get into the game there?
Yeah, that's as with most federations and associations and countries, especially developing countries, that accessibility route we've had to develop. We are very fortunate now in that the golf courses were developed, as I said, in the beginning of the noughties, as it were, in 2000 up until the last golf course coming online, Medinti Golf Club, which in 2019 or 2020, sorry. So we are fortunate enough to have these golf courses around some great developments and some great communities. So the accessibility needs to start from there. And that's what has happened over the last 3 or 4 years in particular. As these communities have become more mature and more developed, then the accessibility towards the golf club and getting golf club into people's hands has started to gain some traction.
Fantastic. And it's great to see the traction growing, and certainly the relationship that we're developing. We're seeing that with the youngsters coming into the game. As a federation, obviously, the primary responsibility for all federations is to help protect the future of the game and the growth of the game. But what would you say with the Egyptian Golf Federations, one of the main aspirations or goals is it to have elite players, international events, potentially world superstars, developing the game at grassroots, or is it all of the above?
I'd say all of the above, Stuart, to be honest with you. The industry has become so diverse, and federations are playing a bigger and bigger part in that. Obviously, today we're going to talk a lot more about the education part that we're in association with the Leadbetter Golf Academy and Leadbetter Kids and all the aspects of the Leadbetter programs that we've embraced. But I think this is part of developing those superstars, developing those role models. It's also part of having professional events here, because then you give access to local players and to international players to see the beauty, the variety of golf courses that we have in the country, in addition to the tourism aspect that Egypt's become very synonymous with in terms of cultural and leisure tourism. The golf tourism also has a huge part of our agenda as well. But I think I would say all of the above, but I think today we're going to touch a lot more on the grassroots development and the development of elite golfers and elite athletes, and the schools programs and all the initiatives that you and I and the rest of the team at Leadbetter and the board of directors of the EGA have been discussing over the last year or so.
Yeah, fantastic. And as you say, Moh, that leads us perfectly into the relationship that we've formed together. We're absolutely delighted to bring our experience in terms of not only the coaching side of things, but the coach education, which the reality is the coaches and volunteers and anybody that's involved with youngsters that are getting into the game and going through that development pathway right the way up to high performance, they're influenced by a lot of people around them, and ultimately the coaching systems have a huge influence on them. And that's where we've started really trying to educate coaches that we're working with together with yourself in terms of their own certifications. We've recently had 2 of your young aspiring coaches go through our certification program. I personally mentored them and enjoyed every step of the way. What would you say that the feedback's been so far in terms of what those individuals have got out of the certification and how that's helping them work together with the federation?
I think what they've got out of this is some invaluable knowledge and in-depth philosophy, which is the whole concept of our association with Leadbetter Golf Zone. And the development that we are in, the development programs we're embarking on. This is such a huge aspect for us in terms of it creates a legacy, it creates a sustainable model for golf development all the way through from our beginner programs, schools programs, all the way up to the elite athletes or the elite juniors that we're developing. And even to the amateur game, I think this the relationship that we're building is very much beginning with great initiatives with juniors, but will have a great impact on the sustainability of the golf game and the introduction of golf to different segments in Egypt. On the coaching side, obviously, as you've mentioned, we've had 2 young guys that have gone through our junior development programs, that have experienced international competition, have been successful at Arabic and Arab and African level in terms of winning medals and competing at those levels, both at men and junior levels. And just their interest into becoming part of the next generation of developments is the really biggest takeaway that we've had so far. Their enthusiasm and the knowledge that they've been given through the coaching development program. And I think this is something that we again have highlighted within our our 5-year plan, which is developing the coaches side as much as it is developing the accessibility and the junior development program or the national junior development program in association with Leadbetter, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the people involved in the programs at any part of the pathway are critical to the sustainability and developing, like you touched upon earlier, the culture and the behaviors that fit the vision and the mission of the Egyptian Golf Federation. And I certainly can vouch for the two individuals that have embarked on it. You've got great people involved, and hopefully we can help them in their journey to further support it. And it'd be great if you can touch a little bit upon our relationship with you in terms of our remote coaching support, because we've got one of our most senior instructors, Lawrence Brotheridge, delivering some online remote coaching together with the instructors that we've just spoke about to provide that guidance and that support, and I guess a little bit of that backup and mentorship to help guide the players down the right path. How's that been? I know we're at the inception. We've only just got started in the past few months, but what's the initial feedback like, more from the federation and the players?
I think, or we think as the federation, is that, this is a great opportunity. The platform itself being online and having access to some of the world's best coaches, in Lawrence and his team and yourself, mentoring some of our coaches and stuff like that. We would not have that access as a growing federation without that kind of platform. So the platform that Leadbetter provides, the Leadbetter Golf Academy and Leadbetter Kids provides, is going to be instrumental in the volume of people we can reach out to, the number of golfers and the number of people that can be part of this whole experience, and also with obviously teaming up with the legendary Leadbetter philosophy. We're creating a sustainable, as I said before, and a platform that is consistent with every single player. So not that every player's journey will be consistent, but at least the methodology and the teaching part of it, and the growth and the growth cycle will be consistent, and allow us as a federation to have a sustainable intrinsic model that can go forward for the next generation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the beauty of how we've structured everything is, yes, there's a philosophy, there's a framework around everything, but we all of us appreciate that everybody's journey as an athlete, as a human being, is individual, and that the coaching needs to be tailored to be player-centric, to allow that individuality to shine through and support them along the journey. And hopefully with the training that we've done with the coaches and the support that we're giving, we can help further embrace that individuality and that experience and help guide the players down the right path. Obviously, big plans for the federation, a great vision. Like you talked about, every age and stage along the pathway is something that you're trying to influence from the grassroots. And you've touched there upon the Leadbetter Kids philosophy. I think we all appreciate, and something we've spoken about, is that teaching grassroots and young juniors is quite a skill set in itself. How to inspire, engage, motivate, and capture them to fall in love with the sport is something that the skill set for a coach is quite unique. And I think that's where the certification around our Leadbetter Kids is certainly helping some of your instructors involved into going into schools, etc. And then obviously the more technical side of things comes a little bit later down the pathway. But what would you say your plans are within the federation more for the next 5 to 10 years? You talked about that long-term strategy. Where do you see the federation being with their development and their players in that time frame?
Well, it depends on I'd say one goal is to increase participation. Obviously within that will then all the other trickle down effects of having a bigger crop of elite players just by sheer volume and probability will increase. But I guess, and I would say that the biggest aspect of the next 5 years is to increase participation in the game, increase accessibility, and going back again to the Leadbetter program in association with the federation. Of course, it is, I think it gives us that platform where kids can be inspired, even if they're having small, a limited amount of access to this platform in their early formative years. At least they're not on their own. Golf can be quite a lonely game it can be quite individualistic. But I think what we've seen, and I'm sure you would agree, that when there is a team and a community element developed in that, which is what the communities of this online platform are creating, then I think that will create much more, engagement and, as we say, for want of a better word, stickiness to the game, and, developing their journey either as a amateur or all the way up to being that, top level amateur or even professional, and at that level. So I think it all begins with the grassroots. It all begins with the development and the increase of golfers. Obviously, we have an adult development program again, which we'll touch on later. And as we expand our relationship, this will be, part of that infrastructure. But I think the beginning, first things first, as David would say. We start with the juniors, the grassroots levels, getting the kids into the program, getting the schools into the program, getting the communities around the clubs into the programs, and getting all the golf clubs engaged into the programs, which is our role over the next 5 years to get that number that we've shared together of creating 10,000 golfers by 2025. And I know that is quite a bold statement, but with the population that we have and the communities that we have around these golf courses, I think this is quite achievable as long as there is a plan and a strategic plan in place, which we have done, or we're creating and aligning with Leadbetter with over the next 5 years.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you there, Moh. I think there's definitely been a huge development in the strategic plan, and everything you've talked about there really embraces the main kind of values that Golf Zone Leadbetter and the Leadbetter Academy embrace, and anything that we do with our education. David always stresses to us, number one, be dedicated to golf, so dedicated to your craft. Number two, if you dare to teach, never cease to learn. You're always trying to improve, and your instructors are embracing that by going through the certifications and the ongoing learning and connecting with us on a regular basis. And that's a great piece for us to have together with you. And the other one is strive for simplicity. Like you said, first things first, let's keep things simple. Let's make sure we can influence where we need to start and develop things as we grow. And I think that's a real key point, and especially for the delivery of the coaching to the players. And that's certainly what I've seen from the instructors that we've had involved and your instructors supporting the journey of them, that the players are receiving really high quality advice, real high quality guidance and direction into the pathway that they should be heading down, but at the same time, very simple, clear and effective ways to implement the things that they need to do and see a benefit as well. So great vision for the future. We are so excited to be part of the journey with you, with the Egyptian Golf Federation. We can't wait to see what happens in the years coming. Moh, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Obviously, we'd like to thank you for your time, and watch this space, everybody. Let's see where Egyptians start to figure on the world stage, and some superstars coming out of the country.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you, Stuart. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Moh.